Okay, so do you ever feel like your focus just has a mind of its own? Well, in this explainer, we're going to dive into a brilliantly simple technique to pull yourself out of those digital rabbit holes and, actually take back the controls. It's called a brain checkpoint, and honestly, it might just change the way you work.
So let's be real for a second. Have you ever sat down to do just one simple thing, like answer a single email, and 45 minutes later you kind of snap out of it, looking at your screen all dazed and confused, wondering how on earth you ended up on a Wikipedia page about the history of garden gnomes? Yeah, if you're nodding along, you are so not alone. It's a struggle we all deal with in this crazy, hyper-connected world.
You know, there's a name for this feeling, or at least we've got one for today. We're calling it the focus labyrinth. It's this mental maze where your brain, which is totally wired to chase new, shiny things, just gets hooked. One interesting link leads to a curious video, which leads to another tab, and then another one, and then poof. You have no idea how you got there or where you were even trying to go in the first place.
I mean, picture this. You start out with a super clear, productive goal. You're going to research pricing for some new software. Simple enough, right? But a link in an article leads to a blog post, which has a video in it, and before you know it, the YouTube algorithm is feeding you clips from a late-night show that aired 3 years ago. That original mission? It's just a distant memory.
And the shift in our mental state is it's so dramatic. When you start, the goal is crystal clear, you've got high energy, you're feeling totally on top of things. But once you're deep in that labyrinth, the goal is gone, you feel completely scattered, and all that great energy has been replaced by this vague sense of guilt and exhaustion. It's such a frustrating cycle.
But what if you had a tool that could guide you out of the maze? Like a mental GPS for your focus. Okay, let's dive into this really elegant solution. It's called the brain checkpoint, and it's basically your personal navigation system to get you back on track.
And you know what? The concept itself is incredibly simple. A brain checkpoint is really just a deliberate pause. It's a moment you schedule to just stop whatever you're doing, and ask yourself one really powerful question. Is this what I intended to be doing right now? That's it. That's the whole technique. And its real power is in that simplicity.
Just look at the contrast here. On the left, that's kind of the default mode for a lot of us, right? It's reactive, chaotic, and pretty stressful. We're basically just passengers on a train being driven by digital distractions. But on the right, with checkpoints, the whole dynamic flips. You become proactive, calm, and intentional. You're the one in the driver's seat now, and your work is fueled by your purpose.
So, this all sounds good in theory, but how do we actually do it? Don't worry, it's not complicated at all. This next part is just a super straightforward, practical guide to setting up your very own checkpoints so you can take back control of your attention.
It's really just 4 simple steps. First, define your destination. And be specific. What is the one single task you're about to do? Step 2, set a timer, maybe 25-30 minutes. That's your checkpoint trigger. Third, when that timer goes off, you pause and ask the question, am I doing what I planned? And finally, step 4 is to correct your course. If you're on track, awesome. Reset the timer and keep going. If you've wandered off, just gently guide yourself back to that original task. See, the key here is that this isn't about forcing yourself to focus. It's just about creating a simple system to remind you of your own intentions.
And this part is so important. This technique is not about trying to achieve some state of perfect monk-like focus. Come on, distraction is a natural part of how our brains work. The real win here isn't about never getting distracted. It's about shortening the amount of time you spend being distracted. It's about noticing you're lost and just pulling out your map to get back on the path really fast.
All right, so what's the big payoff for using brain checkpoints consistently? Well, in our final section, we're going to see how this tiny little tool doesn't just help you in the moment. It actually has this powerful, compounding effect on your work and even on your well-being.
The payoff is huge. Seriously. When you implement this small habit, you get back this sense of control over your day. And that helps reduce that low-level anxiety that comes from feeling like you're always behind. Naturally, the quality of your work improves, you finish things faster, and maybe most importantly, you build this meta skill of self-awareness, which is basically a superpower in any field.
So let's be super clear about one last thing. This is not another productivity hack for you to beat yourself up about. It is not a test of your willpower or some measure of your discipline. It's just a smarter way to navigate. Think about it. You wouldn't go on a long road trip without a map or GPS, right? Well, think of brain checkpoints as that exact same essential tool for your workday.
So, I'll end this by turning the question over to you. As you finish up here, think about your day ahead. What's on your to-do list?
What is the very first task you're going to apply this to? Give it a try. You might be surprised at just how far you can go when you're the one choosing the destination.